You gotta feel for Henry Cejudo, but he made a really bad move when he retired that first time years ago. He lost years of his prime. He was a 2-division champion. It looked like he was only getting better, and the more wins he would be able to rack up, the better the pay he would get, more pay-per-view points and all of that stuff. Instead of that, he retired, came back 3 years later as a challenger, not even as a champion anymore. He got his title shot, he lost, and now seeing that he's getting paid less than Mackenzie Dern, it proves how horrible his decision making was. It's sad to see for a legend of the sport who's done what he's done, but at the end of the day, he way overplayed his hand. He was hoping to get a royal flush, but all he got was a high card at the end. We haven't heard much from Henry Cejudo, and maybe you did not know this, but he retired. It was announced by Dana at the post-fight press conference a few days ago, and there has been no word of it. Nothing. No broadcast of the retirement, no announcement on any social media platform about the retirement, and not only that, Henry Cejudo also got paid less than Mackenzie Dern. You heard that right. So he retired for the second time, and this time it was not broadcasted, as Dana said that they want to give Merab his shine, and maybe they want to build Merab knowing how many fans are getting behind him right now, so they didn't want to take any spotlight away from Merab. You have to feel for Henry Cejudo, but he did do it to himself. He already got a retirement speech before in the cage, and they broadcasted it and everything, and then he tried to negotiate his way, retiring after winning and defending 2 titles, vacating them months after each other, trying to hold as much leverage as possible, which is something he should be doing, but he wasn't realistic. He way overvalued himself. He actually believed that the UFC would stagnate, or, they wouldn't know what to do if they didn't have a Henry Cejudo on the roster or something. Retiring and thinking you hold that kind of leverage where they're going to give you exactly what you want and all that stuff. I don't know what Henry Cejudo was negotiating for, but all we know is that he completely overestimated himself. And imagine the money he could have made in the meantime if he didn't retire, if he got like 2 more title defenses or something, probably close to, if not more than $1 million in total on top of everything. And not only that, it would further his legacy and ability to negotiate for even more. And who knows what those fights would have been. Because at the time, you had guys like Petr Yan and Jose Aldo up there to fight for the belt. And those could have been very big fights for him. And if he would have lost the bantamweight title, he could have went back down to 125, maybe, and fight Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo. Imagine Henry Cejudo inserted with those 2 guys. The matchups between those 3 fighters would have been legendary. And the Brandon Moreno fight specifically, because they do have history with each other, would have been massive, right? They could have absolutely have sold that for the Mexican audience. And he would have been the bad guy, or he would have been the villain to Brandon Moreno, not Deiveson. Deiveson became the villain later, but Henry Cejudo would have been the perfect villain. And he could have played into that whole character even more against someone like Brandon Moreno. And he would have got a load more money if he were to have won that fight. And more leverage as well, knowing that so much of the Mexican audience would have watched that fight. But it looks like he played his hand incorrectly back then. And knowing how his career unfolded after, that decision to stay out of fighting for a few years may have been one of the worst business decisions, knowing now what he got paid. The payouts are public because the California State Athletic Commission usually publicly shows them. And Henry Cejudo got paid $150,000. Mackenzie Dern got paid $200,000. Good on Mackenzie Dern, man. I don't know who her manager is, but Henry Cejudo needs to hire that guy. I'm shocked that Ali, who has so many fighters under him, and a lot of guys go to him because he's able to get him these deals. I am surprised Ali did not get Henry Cejudo a better deal. He's a 2-division champion. He defended both belts. He's a legend of the sport. He beat some of the greatest fighters of all time. Yeah, he played his hand against the UFC, but even still getting paid less than Mackenzie Dern is crazy. Mackenzie Dern's never even fought for a belt, let alone be a champion. And she got paid almost as much as Paulo Costa. So it's actually showing that Mackenzie Dern got paid quite well compared to Henry Cejudo getting paid low. But his pay was low. $150,000 a show and $150,000 a win for a guy like him is crazy. Looking at those payouts, we know for sure that Cejudo definitely made a horrible decision of stepping out for so long. And he thought that the UFC was going to give him a bigger deal when he came back. They thought that the UFC would beg for him to come back or something. They did give him an immediate title shot on his return against Aljamain Sterling, which he lost a very close fight. And then he goes and fights Merab Dvalishvili, who's Aljo's friend, and gets beat by him as well. Now they don't need Cejudo anymore. Cejudo's also retired, so it plays out for both parties here. In a way, Henry Cejudo ruined his potential in this sport, because he accomplished a lot, but he could have accomplished a lot more. He could have gotten the pay that he was looking for if he just continued to rack up wins. I don't know why he wanted to just be given the world so quickly like that. It usually takes fighters a long time to build up their careers as a champion, even rack up title defenses in order to get that kind of pay. Becoming a 2-division champion at flyweight and bantamweight is not going to do that. Those 2 divisions are paid less than everybody else. And here are all the payouts for UFC 298. This was reported by many different people, but the original source seems to be by Manuk Akapian, filed by the California State Athletic Commission. So Ilia Topuria got paid $350,000, Alexander Volkanovski $750,000, so he definitely got paid more than everybody else. And those 2 payments are flat, no win bonus. Paulo Costa gets paid $250,000 a show, $100,000 to win. If he were to win, it would equal out to Topuria's title challenger pay. Didn't Paulo Costa say that he had some crazy deal? Paulo Costa said that he's the highest paid Brazilian fighter on the roster. Charles Oliveira gets paid more than him. Alex Pereira gets paid way more than him, probably 3-4 times more than he does. I guess Costa was joking about that whole thing or something. Robert Whittaker's show money is $300,000 and his win bonus is $100,000. He got paid more than even Topuria did, if Topuria did not get paid pay-per-view points. Ian Gary was 55 and 55, which is a lot lower than everybody else here. Jeff Neal, 108 and 108. So his show and win money were about double of Ian Gary's. But because Ian Gary won the fight, he got paid more than Jeff Neal, just about $2,000 more. Henry Cejudo, 150, 150. Then Merab was 105 and 105, which makes sense that Cejudo would get paid more than Merab, but these 2 guys need to get paid more. They're still in the 100,000s as top-ranked bantamweights in the world. Roman Kopylov is 80 and 80. Anthony Hernandez, 66, both ways. Mackenzie Dern, $200,000 a show, $100,000 to win. So it's $300,000 total, which is the same for Henry Cejudo if they both were to win the fight. But if they both lost, Mackenzie Dern gets paid more because her show money is more. And it's better to have more show money than a win bonus. So whoever Mackenzie Dern's manager is, that person needs to be hired by other fighters because they know what they're doing. I mean, realistically, she should not get paid more than even Merab. She should not be close to Paulo Costa. She should not be close to Robert Whittaker and Ilia Topuria. If she won her fight, she would have made $50,000 less than the title challenger in the main event of the same card. That is crazy, man. Good for Mackenzie Dern. Amanda Lemos got 80 and 80. Pascal Samani got 23 and 23. Marcos Rogero de Lima, 100 and 100. Carlos Vera, 12 and 12. Ryo Nakamura, 23 both ways. Brenson Ribeiro, 10 both ways. Zhang Ming Yang, also 10. Danny Barlow, also 10. Josh Quinlan, 12 and 12. Val Woodburn, 15 and 15. Oban Elliott, 10 and 10. Miranda Maverick, 75 and 75. And Andrea Lee, 70 and 70. So you're telling me Miranda Maverick and Andrea Lee both got paid more than Ian Gary and Anthony Hernandez? Maybe I could understand more than Hernandez, but more than Ian Gary. Yo, what this tells me is a lot of these fighters need to up their game and get better managers or something. Especially Ian Gary, Henry Cejudo, and Merab. They were so underpaid. You see what Mackenzie Dern was making? This is more towards the right direction. And then scale her star power as well as her ranking to these other fighters, right? Cejudo should be making like no less than $500,000, I think. Merab should be making no less than like $400,000. Ian Gary should be making the $100,000s, both show and win money. Jeff Neal should be making more than he is too. But yeah, very interesting. Henry Cejudo definitely shot himself in the foot and overestimated his worth, and it shows now. After everything unfolded, back then we were kind of just speculating maybe he made a mistake about retiring, and now we know he made a mistake.